Welcome back, everybody, to Out at Reese's podcast. I'm your host, Reese Shalvis. Joining me on the podcast. Sorry, what do you want me to refer to you as? Just Kazu?
Just Kazu.
All right, Kazu. Yeah, Kazu. He owns his own media company, Katana Media. Videographer, photographer.
I've kind of done it all. Freelanced for a bit to get myself a good portfolio to call myself even a director for a commercial that's been broadcasted nationally on television. So,
who was that commercial for?
it was for Bucked Up, a company down in Utah, and everything. So, was a really cool experience. And dealing with all of that, but yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah. So so you were originally from Utah, Salt Lake City?
well, born in Utah, but I grew up in California, San Jose area. So I guess the Bay, and that's where I tell people that I meet that's where I get my personality from is from California. Yeah, like to distinguish myself away from Utah. How do you call it, traits or personalities?
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a bad reputation to being from Utah.
I mean, Utah people are nice, and they're very respectable and they're very like outgoing as far as like wanting to go and meet certain people and stuff. But there's a level of arrogance and that's that type of atmosphere that they tend to drag with them from their culture that they were raised. But
and there's and the reputation to like the outside of Utah, right? So every time I travel, I go outside of Utah and I meet like people and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" Like, "Oh, Utah," or meet people online. They're like, "Oh, isn't that like the Mormon state?
Yeah.
Don't you guys have like 4 wives or something?" Like that's always the joke they make. They always say "Oh, don't you guys like have?"
Yeah, magic underwear. Are you wearing magic underwear right now? No, it's all pretty funny. I was born and raised Mormon, so like having to explain that in California while I was like a Mormon and stuff was a little bit difficult and kind of an interesting meet and greet with other people who are not accustomed to like that side of that religion. That takes it a little bit more heaviness of like beating it down.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. I also grew up Mormon. I left the church though when I was 17, but so it's interesting, kind of seeing the perspective from both sides, being in the church, out of the church, seeing how just the like members interact with non-members or with other members and whatnot. So it's kind of a interesting dynamic to have grown up like that, especially with how strict my family was in the church growing up, so.
Yeah, same. I think the more you expand, personality wise of like growing up in all these different cultures shape you to be like even better of yourself.
Right.
And I not saying that I regret being a Mormon, but it kind of helped me like realize other, stuff and part of like what's kind of created my personality in a way.
Oh, exactly. 100%. I agree with that. Like I definitely don't have regrets either about anything really anymore. Especially because as you like are able to actually see what in your life has affected you in the way that you are now and how you deal with things now or what you're currently going through, it's a lot easier to appreciate them rather than just hate things or
Yeah. Totally agree. Well, I guess we kind of got a little sidetracked there as far as my introduction.
Tell us more about yourself.
So professionally, just a videographer, photographer. I've gotten roles of like creative directing and producing media for all types of clients, from individual influencers all the way to like corporate businesses and worked for them. So just kind of expounded my portfolio to be a wild card, I guess, a jack of all trades of anything media.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. How long have you been like just doing media in general, film,
Right.
videography, whatever.
I've started my love and interest in media and film all the way back in high school, but I think I got really serious into it after my trip in Japan, which was probably about 9 years ago now. But went back to America after my trip in Japan and just was like, I need to go to college and start my education on this type of stuff because I had no idea. Met professors, went into the more of like the industry, got a little bit more connected in a way to start doing other personal projects of my own and other people's to gain even more experience there, to have myself transfer to UVU, got into their program and excelled pretty fast over there, as far as like what I've already done personally with myself, to where I shared my portfolio to the professors and they're like, yeah, you're good. You don't need this program. Like, they're just like, you can just do your own thing and you probably will succeed. And it's a bit of a slow build, but yeah, I've kind of felt like I really didn't need a degree or anything like that for like this field.
Right.
Because it's just all about experience.
Right. No, exactly. Do you feel like how differently do you think your knowledge and experience would be right now had you not gone to college for any of that?
That's a good question. As far as I don't think it's more of just, how do I say this? It's the 2 years, or I guess 4 years, that I could have like gotten to get the degree would have just pushed me back on starting these other projects that I've already kind of like done and put out, and have like put on my portfolio.
Right.
So instead of being right now maybe like an 8-year experience, I would have had to deal with another like 4 years on top of that to be where I'm at now.
So you did feel like it kind of helps speed up to where you're at.
Yeah.
Get you to where you're at. Okay.
Yeah.
But so you didn't end up getting an actual degree then, but you got
no.
But okay.
Just a basic, associate's degree, like general degree that you get in college, but professionally I don't have a degree for media, but if you look on my portfolio, it excels more than half those people that have gotten the degree.
Exactly. So. Yeah. It's just interesting, like college nowadays, because like, back then it was just without the internet, without, the way the world that it seems that it was just, it was harder to get connected with people. And it seemed like they cared a lot more about degrees, but now, we're kind of going into this modern age of technology, the internet, how we can literally get experience in like any way now. Just look up on, the internet how to do something. It's so much easier to like find jobs without a degree. If you can just put in the work to learn.
Right. And
what you need to.
Yeah, I've seen many things as far as like research and stuff on media that even like the generations, I don't know, even like the Gen Z or whatever, generation is not even wanting to go to college, just because they feel like it's unnecessary.
And just so expensive.
Yeah.
Like it kills people. Like it's so expensive. Like that's the main thing that turned me off, right? When I graduated high school, I didn't want to start paying all this money because I already
yourself in debt.
Right. I already struggled in high school like really badly. I barely graduated. And I just feel like if it wasn't for like the costs and that just struggling so much, I might have gone to school if it wasn't for that. But I just feel like having to do all these generals that have nothing to do with your core major, right? Or minor or whatever you're going for. Just, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, no, to me, I wouldn't say college is, not necessary 100%. I'd say it's a good place to get yourself started.
Right.
But you don't have to finish college. if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that 100%.
I think college is a good place to kind of find your own crew and people to get yourself like connected to, and get yourself a little bit more out there if you're not like as social as I was.
Right.
For you, it might be different because I feel like you're very a social like person that can connect pretty well with like other people just randomly just off the street, where I'm more of an introvert, so it takes a bit of like work for the other people to reach, and talk to me about it. But I have a connection through college, and he's a buddy of mine that we've been kind of been partners for a bit, and I met him through that program at UVU, and he's helped me, I've helped him, and we've kind of built our own like personal portfolio through like each other and stuff. And currently right now he works at Bucked Up, and that's just because like I was able to get that connection, and he was able to get that connection through me for me to give out a referral and stuff, and vice versa with other like clients and jobs that he's like picked up and asked me for like his like help and everything. So
yeah, like with college, it's not a bad thing. Like there is like kind of a demonization towards college with a lot of the younger generation, right? And there's nothing wrong with wanting to go to college. If you want to go get your degree, especially if you don't know how to get started in something like you said, it's just, if you don't see the need for it, then don't go.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Not everybody's going to be doctors or nurses and
Right,
stuff,
exactly.
which I feel like that's, the field that you need to go to school for. But with people, delinquents who like us,
Yeah.
who don't really do well in school, and that sort of, and our whole learning process is more of like, visual learning and that sort of stuff, hands-on like training. Like college is not that route for you. So but it's a good initial start if you have no idea on what you want to do, to then figure out and then just go your own path from there.
Yeah, and if you don't want to spend like that much money too, but still go to school for something, like trade schools are a great alternative too. With you don't have to do generals; it's strictly you're just like
community colleges, even your local college that you have just to start off. But I went to school part-time for about maybe 6 years, and I was able to pay off that debt pretty easily. So just depends.
Right. Yeah. I almost went to school. I had applied to the DATC up in Kaysville, and even applied at Solid Community College, and I actually didn't get I heard back from the DATC. I was supposed to schedule a counselor meeting, but I never got to that because I was gonna go to their IT like cybersecurity program, and that's when I was like starting to get really big into doing YouTube videos back in like 2019. And I've been doing kind of like content and stuff my whole life, but it was like around 2019 I was like, I want to just make my life like under content creation, whether it's a podcast or Twitch streaming, because I used to do that, or something else. And so I ended up not going to school, and so far I'm glad that I didn't. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, look at you now. You have your own
so much
podcast office and set up. It looks really nice now.
Yeah, it's
everything,
definitely the nicest set I've had. I was shooting out of my house before, and it's just such a pain to like set up and take things down every single episode that I wanted to shoot. So having an actual set and office, it's just so convenient.
Yeah,
it's leave
helpful.
the equipment and flip a few switches to turn things on, and it's good to go. But it is like kind of crazy too. Like I don't think it's like, it's still kind of setting in, like just the whole situation, right? Because coming from such a cheaper setup, at home and everything, and I always had imagined, eventually one day I want to be able to get my own office somewhere. And now with which I don't want to say too much about at this moment, but with Throne Room Productions, the startup company, me and my associates are working on, it had allowed me to run this podcast out of our own space, you know?
Yeah. It's, to me, I feel like, that's always a humbling experience, right? Starting out of just your home or garage like myself, and
With like makeshift equipment,
right,
whatever you can do.
to then kind of build something where you're able to bring your studio anywhere you want to,
Right.
or just you have a permanent place of a
Yeah,
studio
exactly.
that you have. So it's very humbling experience for sure.
Yeah, back in like 2020 with the first rendition of this podcast, which was called Out of Recess before I had rebranded it. Literally the lighting I had was a construction light that I'd found in my dad's garage because he has a construction company. So I literally like set that up through it was too bright, so I threw like a white pillow sheet
Yeah.
over it, and then I had like this weird just bed sheets thrown up behind me, like draped down behind me for like just a simple plain background with two colors, right? And I was on a little table, and I don't know, it's just such a simple like makeshift setup. It's kind of sick. Like, it's like looking back at those episodes, which aren't public, right? They aren't public anymore, but it's just kind of interesting to like see that versus now like sitting here.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you feel like you've definitely grown, personally as like an individual as well as like professionally with your work and craft that you're trying to perfect, and you end up picking a style, and you catch those people's attention that end up liking it, and and then you end up getting help, your
Right.
associates and stuff to create even a bigger world around like what you've just started in your room.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And being able to finally have like an actual team that can help me with podcasts, that can help me with any form of media content production that I want to make. That's, I don't know, it's such a big change, right? It's like there's such a level of pressure that is like off my shoulders now with when it comes to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, it's just interesting to like be going through that and actually seeing that myself.
Yeah. It's always been hard to even like run your own business, and try to grow and expand that way without the knowledge of like the marketing side of things. So you have to like end up getting a partial like marketing degree on your own.
Right. with the YouTube University,
Yeah.
right?
Or even just like being, researching your own like YouTube strategy, and that sort of stuff, and gaining experience that way. So, and then sharing that with like your clients and everything, to then like having them want you and hire you and everything. But like doing it all by yourself is very exhausting. So it's always good to have those, friends and stuff that help you out, that can stay there consistently for you.
Oh yeah. I definitely feel like the team that I'm working with, most of them are like, really all of them are friends I've known for 8 or 9 years or even more. Right. And we all have had such a close friendship with each other. And like, so it's crazy that like, I feel like we're very fortunate that I've found a team that we all are similar, goal oriented and want to do the same thing. So we've come together to form this company, and we're all fine with working for free while we, try to build the company. And so I feel like things have like lined up perfectly for this company. So I'm excited to see what we can really make happen with it.
Yeah. And some people find that niche and group, a lot faster than other people. Unfortunately, I'm one of those unfortunate people that haven't really found
Right.
much of that community that wants to help build my production and support me. But I'm slowly finding, people here and there to want to be there consistently for me and everything. And that's always just an extra like boost of energy, when you do. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's one thing I've come to learn in the last few years is just like the number one most important thing when like getting into something like this is your network, right?
yeah,
People you talk to
yep,
regularly, work with regularly, just connections you make. That's if it wasn't for my network, my connections, I'd still be shooting this out of my living room with a construction light and
right. Well,
like
I mean, I'm pretty sure you would have made some improvements,
right,
but
okay,
it would have
yeah,
just
yeah.
been
But-
just been slower process, right? Instead of what might have taken you a year, it could have taken you 2 years to finally get to it. But yeah, some people find it a lot faster. Some people find it no. And luckily, you had friends that you're able to reach out to and connect with that you've been friends with for like 8-9 years.
right.
It's a different life experience compared to like myself, who was kind of just like separated himself from his own family.
Yeah.
And even like past like friends and stuff due to complications and toxicity and that sort of stuff. So it's just
The thing with like family support is I've noticed like it's people are really lucky if they have that family support. Like for me personally, my parents especially have been the most supportive people in my life when it comes to doing this. Like, growing up, my dad was a lot more, oh, you're going to go to school. Like you got to like do things, you pretty much just follow the system that they try to like in place, in school and whatnot. He was very much like, I'll go to school, just ensure a successful future like that. But like, because he's also changed as a person, now he's like, if you love doing this thing, you should go after it. Right? Which was like surprised me when he said that for the first time several years ago. Cause I was like, so you're not against me like pursuing this hobby as a career, and he was like, no, not at all. He's been so supportive, helping me in, different ways. And then my mom has been insanely supportive of like, she's listening to every episode that I drop. She's giving me constant feedback on, oh, this sounds good. You could improve here. You can do this. So like, shout out to my mom for all the support she's given me. Cause man, she's helped me through some really hard times with business, podcasting, my personal life, emotionally. And it's just like, I don't even know if I would be doing podcasting right now if it wasn't for my parents' like support, So I just feel super fortunate for that. And so it's definitely I can see how difficult it would be if that support wasn't there from family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird, but yeah. So you also, sorry, my mind just like blanked out there for a minute. So you've lived in Japan before, right?
I have. I lived in Japan for 6 years total in my life. 4 when I was a young child from 3 to 7. And then another about like a year and a half to 2 years after high school, where I was trying to figure myself out. That's tends to happen. And there was a bit of drama in like in my personal life in the little town that I grew up in California and stuff called Hollister, that I just needed an escape. And my dad offered a suggestion to go out to Japan and do some volunteer work, and then stayed out there, relearned the language. So yeah, I can speak Japanese fluently as well, understand it pretty well. It's always talking to anime fans, like a flex of like, yeah, you just listen to anime without reading the subtitles or something like that. So
that's my goal. I've been learning Japanese, which that he's actually been, he's been teaching me a little bit
Occasionally,
but
life's been busy. That's kind of been
Yeah.
hard to get back into it. But
It's so
you know,
hard,
you're
bro.
progressing with other things rather than a different focus. But you eventually get there.
Yeah, I mean, I have the goal of eventually trying to move there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually been talking with with my team and stuff, and once we can get Throne Room Productions really starting to self-sustain, make income, profit, eventually, like, I really want to open up Throne Room Productions Tokyo studio.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. That's like my dream right there, right?
Yeah, that would be pretty fun and interesting. And I've seen a lot of things as far as like renewed like visas and stuff that you can work with in Japan to do like freelance work over there at first, and
freelance
then
work.
to like start your own business.
Yeah.
Like they promote that, and
Yeah, I
and
heard
try
they
to
were
get-
doing a lot of like, they're making it a lot easier for foreigners to just go there with startup companies.
Yeah,
too. Like,
yeah.
like I heard that a few months ago.
Yeah, so we'll see how this
Yeah.
turns out. I'm excited for that, but that probably will get you to learn Japanese at some point.
Oh, I mean, I definitely need to start learning because I was doing really good at like staying consistently doing my classes every day, using the apps. We were meeting up every
we're
week
meeting up.
to teach, and I feel like I was picking it up kind of quick.
I feel like you know at least the basis of like the alphabet, right?
Yeah.
You know the alphabet. Like
Yeah.
then once you have the alphabet done, it
becomes
kind of
a-
flows pretty easily.
I feel like once you get the alphabet and the sentence structure, it's easier to like figure out words, like like why a word is like here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, I like after my trip to Japan last year, I just fell in love. Right?
Yeah,
It's just
no.
it's such a great place. I mean, it definitely has its flaws. Like no country's perfect,
Right.
but in terms of like what I'm looking for out of a country and like just the different aspects and
It hits the right
dynamics,
vibe.
it hits every string in my soul that I'm.
Checklist
Yeah,
goes
exactly.
down,
So
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I just love the people there. I
Right.
love the culture.
Yeah. No, same. I wish I can move back and live there for a while, but as far as like how my career is pushing me to go in this route, it's not really looking compatible career-wise to be in Japan. But as far as those like new visa opening of like starting your own business out there and stuff, like it's starting to lean a little bit more like, oh, I might have the opportunity to do something with that. But to me, I'm just like, it's always been a dream of mine to retire in Japan.
That's
for sure.
Oh yeah, that would be.
I think.
That'd be so nice.
I think retiring here in America is just a little bit too stressful for some reason, but retiring in Japan
I get
seems
that.
like a bliss. So definitely that's just like an end goal of mine.
Right. Yeah. And with I want to raise my kids there. Like I really want to raise my kids in Japan because I've just seen like I feel like the kids there are raised with so much more respect towards their elders, towards people around them. Like it's just such a respectful society compared to the United States, right?
Yeah. I feel like anybody who goes to Japan definitely falls in love with Japan. I mean, there was recently like I think Jimmy Kimmel went to Japan for a week, and he's all like comes out and says like America is just filthy and disgusting.
That's how it feels when you come back, right?
Yeah, when you come back to America and stuff. So
everything.
it's like,
I saw them cleaning their garbage cans at parks.
mm-hmm.
I've never seen them clean a garbage can here. Like they just leave them, and like I don't know. They're so respectful of their environment. Like even in Tokyo, which is, I can't remember if it's the biggest city in the world or the most populated. There's one or the other. I can't remember which one. But it's like for being a city that big, it's like massive, right? You've been there, and it's like New York. Manhattan has nothing on Tokyo because it's just super big, and they still have all these like preserved like those like the Japanese gardens throughout the city, which I love.
As far as how like a city can be, you're very shocked with how like clean a city is
for a big city.
and
Like, that is,
yeah compared to other places like New York or even like Los Angeles or that sort of stuff, like it's just, I don't know.
And
it just shocks you.
yeah, it's crazy, especially like because most people are taking like public transportation, the traffic doesn't even look as bad as it is other places here, like Los Angeles, right? Because everyone, this country's built on cars and driving.
Yeah.
It's infrastructure, so it's just crazy to see that. It's like it is a culture shock. You're just like kind of taken back.
You take it back, and we're just like, why didn't we think about this? Like,
right.
why haven't we implemented bidets when they've like had it for since the 70s or something like that? Right?
They're starting to get a little more popular here.
They are.
I got friends that started getting them. I got one, especially after Japan. I was like, I cannot.
Yeah, it's a necessity. At
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's kind of crazy to me that like. This is gonna sound like kind of gross, but like it's crazy to me that like American culture and other countries that are like this, like to me, just using just toilet paper doesn't actually clean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like I don't know.
Americans are filthy down there, for sure.
The bidet has been amazing.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's after I came like. Going to Japan actually ruined traveling for me because now I don't want to go anywhere else but Japan when I go on vacation.
Really?
I'm like, yeah, it's like I mean, I still want to eventually go to like Bali, Switzerland, all these other countries. But when I'm thinking about the next trip I want to take, it's just Japan again.
yeah.
It's
Japan
just that
again,
good. I want to just go again.
Yeah, it's always a thing definitely for like, oh, definitely Japan again. There's other places like, oh, I want to, experience maybe, Thailand or something like that for certain reasons, but it's never like, oh, I'm going to go to Thailand again, right? It's more just like, I'm going to Japan again.
Right.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting because I feel like with Japan, because most of the country, like the cities you go to, just overall is like really clean, right? But I feel like the areas like Kabukicho or certain parts of Osaka, like where kind of those bridges are, the water canal. I can't remember what that area is called, but I saw a lot of trash on the ground in those areas. Right, those they're the more party, adult areas, right?
The nightlife.
Yeah, the nightlife, but those like, it's just those areas were pretty bad. At least when I went, when it comes to trash, which is weird because like it's like you leave that block of buildings. It's like not even. It doesn't even go very far out, right?
Yeah, it doesn't spread.
And it's just like you go out and it's suddenly clean. And it's just like
Yeah,
they do a really good job.
Yeah, definitely the nightlife gets a little bit too chaotic and interesting in Japan, especially in their own block, as you said.
Right.
But I mean, it doesn't spread as far as like what most places in like America like tend to like spread out, and stuff. And
I want to do more research on it because I don't know how bad the homelessness is there. Because you don't really see it.
You don't see it because they don't want you to see it.
Right. That's what I kind of figured.
Even the homeless people, they have respect for other people that they're just like, oh, we don't want to intrude you.
Right.
And like make you feel like, take pity on me kind of thing. So like the homeless people that are there just like tend to just hide and
right.
and stuff.
It's super interesting. And like, I think I only saw like maybe 2 or 3 homeless people my entire trip, and which it's hard seeing people being homeless,
right.
But like, because I'm sure it has its
right.
I'm sure it's pretty bad because like most big cities, like in Tokyo, I'm sure I don't know what the percentage is.
I don't know too much of the percentage either, but I know like the level of respect for other like people, even when you're homeless, right? Compared to in America, where you're just like, well, we're just gonna lay out, out in the sun and bask, and maybe disrupt like other people that are walking around. So
it's just seriously like, just like the Eastern Hemisphere or just like that side of the world. It just seems like completely different. Right?
Yeah,
it's just crazy, and I'm just so excited to go back. I'm trying to go back like this September, I think, just for a few week trip, and maybe just try to network out there while I'm in Tokyo. See if it looks like it'd be realistic to open a studio there, and then
Yeah, as far as how things are kind of planning out with my life and stuff, it's like another trip maybe next year, but this time like longer, 3 months at most. So
yeah, that's the goal. That's the dream, right?
yeah,
I when I went for about 20 days, it didn't feel like enough.
yeah,
I mean, like to like feel satisfied. When I was going home, I was like, I'm not satisfied with this. Like it was amazing, best trip I've ever been on, but I wasn't satisfied. Like I wanted to stay another month, right?
yeah,
And it felt like the dynamic was interesting being there, because usually when I've gone to like Miami, New York City, California for vacations, it's usually like this very touristy feeling dynamic of like okay, we're in this hotel or whatever, we're gonna, I don't know, it just, the dynamic was so different with Japan, because
is it more just like that feel of going to those other cities like California, New York, or Miami? You're just like, I filled up on being a tourist, so I'm ready to go home. Where in Japan, it just doesn't.
well, yeah,
like
but
you feel like you just want to, you want more and more
yeah,
and more. And,
right, exactly. And it also just like, because I was there for so long with my friends, it just felt like we were just living there at that point, aside from working. It's like we were living there kind of just in the lifestyle. Like some days we'd like, because like, especially in Tokyo, we'd had our separate rooms. We each had our own hotel room. So it almost just felt like we were just like in our own apartments, living there. We'd go out, just do stuff together. It felt like as if we were living there, but every day was the weekend. Like it was just such a crazy experience. And I think if possible, I think everyone should try to experience just traveling outside of their own country, because traveling outside to foreign countries, especially that are so different from yours, can really open your eyes to certain things and kind of give you a new perspective on the world, on life. Because pretty much anyone that has never been outside of their country, the only thing they know about the rest of the world is what the news tells them, what their phone is telling them on whatever they're looking at, right?
Yeah.
But to actually experience that is just so different.
Yeah, not just a weekend trip, like actually go out and experience it.
So I mean, if you're paying $1,000 and for a 12-hour flight, you better be there for at least 2 weeks. I feel like, because even like 1 week there for just like, I don't think I could do just 1 week. I'd have to do at least 2 if I'm traveling that far.
Yeah. And like, maybe for those who are listening, they're just like, it's just too expensive. Like we can't even go. Like I went out there and lived for quite a bit, but that's just because I had connections of finding a visa that I was able to, like a 2-year visa to kind of just live out there. But how I got there is I just bought a one-way ticket, which usually one-way tickets are pretty cheap depending on like the certain time of the year and that sort of stuff. But I signed up for a volunteer program. It's called woofing, which you get to just work certain places like organic farms on like these, different farms around the world. And Japan has a lot of like these organic farms and stuff that you can go and visit and see and actually work. And one of the places that I found, lucky for me, was enough to like for them to be like, hey, you can stay here as long as you want. Kind of, we're wanting you to stay here for a really long time.
Right.
So for me, when I was just like, yeah, I'll probably stay here for a few weeks, turned into like 3 weeks to turn into 3 months to turn into like 6 months then, and then just became part of like the family of just like living there and stuff. And that was like a really cool experience to stay there for about a year plus.
Yeah. So what was the lifestyle dynamic like living on that farm and working for them? That sounds like living on a Japanese farm. That sounds so cool. Yeah, such a cool experience.
It is. It's pretty funny, but also a really cool experience. So it was out in the mountains. It's a little town called Takayama, which literally means high mountain. So it's like
Yeah.
you just see high mountains everywhere. So in the mountains, where I'm weeding, I'm doing all the things. They even had like rice fields, so I was able to do like rice, field work
Right.
where I planted the rice. I even harvested it. Like I stayed for that whole like harvest of like working on the rice fields. They even have their own vegetation, so whatever they grow, like we eat. So that was also a very neat experience.
Yeah. Just super fresh food.
Yeah, fresh vegetables, fresh food, all that sort of stuff. It was
Do they have animals too?
no. It wasn't that far to like have animals, but there were, our neighbors had farm animals from what I can see and tell. But the place that I stayed at didn't have animals besides like their own dog that just kind of roamed around and stuff. But I would tell this experience it's funny to like missionaries, right? That stayed and lived in Japan for like the 2 years on their mission. And they're like, we don't even get that experience out there. Right. So they're like jealous of me having my own personal experience of going to these farms compared to like the missionaries who, just go out there to preach the gospel.
Right,
and stuff.
right.
So it's who's also been like in that area too. So
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just sounds like it'd just be such a interesting experience, I think. Like how so like what was like just kind of going through your day to day, like how many hours would you be working for them, or how did working for them actually look? Was it like a like a shift you like kind of clock into, or was it just
in a way they have their own schedule,
Yeah.
right, that they tell you, and I'm pretty sure it's different with different farms depending on which farm you land on and stuff. I know one guy that I met, he was like, oh, I went to this farm. It was actually like a cafe, but they had a farm out in the back that we would tend to like have like an ingredient to put it in the food for like the cafe and customers that end up visiting. But ours, it was more of like a Japanese style traditional like homestead. So we would have guests, come over and stuff, and to spend a day or 2 days or a week. We would even host college students, like clubs and stuff, to
really
come and like visit. Like they're like outdoor enthusiasts, like clubs and everything, and they would just like camp out.
That's so cool.
On their property and stuff.
That is so cool, actually.
So I would help them like learn how to pick potatoes or something like that and everything. So the average day would just start off as like 6 o'clock. I think I would wake up. 7 o'clock I would hit the kitchen, help make breakfast. Breakfast was at 8.
Right.
And then it would be like an hour breakfast till about 9. And then from 9, well, depending on the workload, we would probably start like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, right? If it was going to be an easier day, it would be like 10. He'd be like, okay, take an hour to like get ready, do whatever you have to do. And then I'll meet you outside or whatever. So usually 10, we work for a couple hours till about like 12 or 1. Have lunch, an hour lunch. It was really relaxing that we take like
probably good food all the time.
Yeah, especially depending on the season too. Like if it was wintertime, I would be having like ramen almost every lunch. Like really good ramen and then like just hot bowls of like noodles and soup and everything. So
how far were you from like
civilization?
Yeah.
So I guess the nearest biggest like town was maybe like a 30-minute drive. So it was quite a bit of ways, but every Sunday, since Sundays was our day off, was I would just walk into town, and it would probably be about a 15-minute walk down and back. But like,
Was it a pretty small town then?
It was a pretty small town. There wasn't really much to do, but there were like interesting sightseeing places as far as like shrines.
Yeah.
Old town, just aesthetic, like housing, and just like the atmosphere was pretty cool as far as walking down like the streets and everything. I remember I stumbled upon this one place. It was a sake brewery place. And it was like their anniversary. So they kind of had it open where you get to try samples of alcohol, like sake alcohol, because it was their anniversary. And they were just like handing me like little shot cups, like left and right. And I was like 19 at the time. And I was just like, but in Japan, I look older.
Right.
So they're probably just like, oh, he's 20. He's fine. You can drink. And I was like, oh yeah, thanks. So, at first I didn't know until I took my first sip. I was just like, oh, this is alcohol. Yeah. I guess I'm just going to go with it kind of thing. Yeah. But it was pretty funny. But usually that's kind of like the routine was work a couple hours in the morning from 10 to 12. And then we would work again for maybe like 3 hours at most from 2 to 5, come back, have lunch. And then the rest I had kind of like my own time to study. So the first like 6 months I was like studying all night, memorizing like words and phrases, but also like making sure like I listened by, catching up on some anime episodes and that sort of stuff. So, it was about a good, maybe 3 to 4 hours of studying before I hit the bed to then like wake up again and do the same thing.
Right.
But eventually, like once I was able to get a handle on like the language and stuff, like that studying time kind of took more to like exploring the places and stuff. And it was really cool as far as like finding trails just up the road to like see a place where it's like 100 waterfalls, a trail or something. You walk and there's like little mini like waterfalls falling and everything. And it was always kind of busy, especially with like guests coming in. So those were always like super fun.
Yeah.
Because I was able to engage with other people. So I didn't really have to go out and feel like I had to go out as much because they were all like coming to the homestead. So lots of connections through that. So that was pretty nice.
That sounds that's something I could see if it wasn't for the production company and this podcast, that's something I'd be doing. Or like I'd be trying to see if I could make happen, because I feel like that's one of those experiences that I don't know, could really just impact your life.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good, interesting place to really also like find myself. But the whole point of that homestead is for people to kind of set a reset button on their life. It was like his whole theme of like the guy who started that homestead. Actually, it's pretty funny that I mentioned it because he came out with 2 books that he's written kind of himself and his experience of how it all happened and that sort of stuff. I'm working on the translation through it right now and everything, and I plan on producing a full-length feature documentary on his life and everything. So I tend to one day go out there and shoot a whole ton of content.
That would be that sounds so cool.
Because he has a really cool, he has a really cool story that is very different from traditional Japanese life.
Let me get involved. Let me come with you out
there. I would love to.
That'd be so cool. That'd be so fun.
As much help as I can, receive. Like that would be an amazing project. I plan to, send this film to film festivals and different, festivals and
Sundance
stuff.
for sure.
Yeah, maybe international. We'll see how that goes.
Great.
A ton of other festivals, maybe in Japan, and kind of travel that. Like I have a few connections out there that's already kind of joined like to help me with like the production side of things.
Yeah.
But as far as right now, pre-production is kind of on myself, which is a little bit hard. But I'm working through it. It's kind of been a dream of mine ever since I've stayed at that homestead 8 years ago. So it's like so far an 8-year project. It might even go into like 10 years, right? Until I finally like I'm able to produce.
Once you have the resources and everything you need to just kind of dive into it and put all your effort into it.
Yeah, this will personally be my biggest passion project that I've probably worked on so far.
That's exciting. I'm actually really excited to see how it turns out too, because it just sounds like such a cool like idea for like a short film documentary kind of thing.
I'd love to tell you some other time just off screen a little bit more in detail about the project and stuff. But
yeah, for sure. I think that's about where we should start wrapping this up.
Yeah. It was a good talk.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to like share any of your social medias or anything?
Yeah, I have a few, a personal, but my main source of showing my content, my personal projects, and just like a videographer and a photographer that I am, it's at katana.media.productions. It's pretty long, but I mean, I think people will understand it if you know me personally, why, called it Katana Media. Right. Being that I'm half Japanese and everything, but
Yeah, I'll link all of his stuff in the description or if you're listening,
professionally, you can check out my LinkedIn page. My name is Kazuya Miskin, so it's Kazuya. I go by Kazu for short because it's just easier for people here.
Yeah.
But that's my name, and I just go by Kazu if you ever see me, just walking around the streets or something like that.
Yeah, make sure you guys go check him out. If you guys want to follow the podcast, just out at Reese's on Instagram, just really wherever, I guess.
Yeah.
Or if you want to follow my personal, just Reese Shalvis, spelled Shalvis. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, why not drop a like, subscribe. If you got some value out of this, just stay tuned for future episodes. And we got a lot planned for this podcast, Throne Room Productions, which you'll be seeing a lot more of if you follow along. And yeah, wherever it is that you're listening, whether it's the morning, daytime, nighttime, I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.